Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1471. Yes, we've been on air for 1471 days consecutively, no days off, interestingly. So for every 24 hours, there's been a show, and I've been here in California most of the time. One time I was actually in Nevada for a short stint, a few days. Anyway, so today we are in Listen, Learn, Love by Susie Albert Miller. How to dramatically improve your relationships in 30 days or less. There's a foreword by Ben and Jeff McCord that we read, and this was in the Publishers Weekly Best-Selling Authors of Becoming Us. We're on page 15. And that's chapter 2. The relationships. Here we are. Relationships are the currency of today. How many people have been saying this in the last week? Relationships are all there is. Everything in the universe only exists because it is in relationship to everything else. Nothing exists in isolation. We have to stop pretending we are individuals that can go it alone. We have a lot of help from people around us. The most successful cinematographers, they have big families that help them, families of helpers or families of their choosing, or possible really real families that are from their relations, biological, and people don't go it alone. That is the truth here. Relationships impact every area of our lives. If we want to succeed in this world, we must be able to create meaningful and lasting relationships. Everyone longs to have rewarding personal relationships, enjoyable friendships, a deep and committed love, sustaining and supportive bonds with our kids and family. We also need successful professional relationships. We desire connection. We even try to work at them, but relationships are not always fulfilling, satisfying, or going well. Unfortunately, we often settle for average. We muddle through, living more like roommates with our spouse than in a romance, our kids interacting more with their smartphones than with us, and sometimes we are too tired to care. Our friendships feel surfacey. Our extended family communities only when there is a crisis, and our business relationships are more transactional than creative and synergetic. Does this sound familiar? It reminds me of functional talk versus conversational talk. It reminds me of the difference between those two things. Anyway, here. Have you settled for average when what you really want is awesome or at least better relationships? What are you aware of how mediocre, difficult, tension-filled, lonely relationships significantly impact every area of your life? We are emotional beings. Even though we try to be logical and rational, our emotions and feelings intrude, especially those related to our relationships, and spill over into all aspects of our lives. Take a moment to think about a time when you were happy, content, or had enjoyed some positive aspects in a relationship. How did the rest of your day go? Were you in a better mood? I imagine your outlook was more positive. Car windows down, radio on, traffic on the commute wasn't a big deal. Work hassles didn't bug you. Your day just went smoothly. My cats are knocking things over, and I don't really care, for example. That's just a sentence I inserted. Maybe your good mood extended into confidence that helped you land a big client, have patience with your team, or gave you extra energy for your spouse. Difficult relationships have the opposite effect. Most of us have heard the sad but true joke about the man who had a bad day at work, came home, and yelled at his wife, who snapped at the kids, who then kicked the dog. The quality of our relationships impacts all areas of our lives. Where dogs always get kicked in some stories. It's the truth. Who was that man that the video? Bob Proctor wrote I think he had a video, and he stated something about how a family man would come home and kick the dog or something. I mean, poor dogs, poor animals. Anyway, that's me here. Susie Albert Miller. We don't often consider how intertwined our personal and professional relationships are and how this reality affects us. Remember a time when personal relationship stress weighed heavily on you and negatively impacted your mood, attitude, and energy at work? Everything was harder. Paper jams, paper cuts, cancellations, molehills became mountains, and you felt thwarted and stymied. Creativity is essential for success in life and work. Many of the entrepreneurs and successful business people I coach lament how relationship stress blocks their creativity and efficiency. When our personal relationships are thriving, we are more productive, profitable, and effective at our work. When our work relationships are flourishing, we are more enjoyable at home. Life is simply better on all fronts. Many successful business executives and entrepreneurs I work with express regret at their lack of investment in their personal relationships during their climb to the top. Now they are alone with no one to celebrate their victories or share in their success. At home and at work, rewarding and fulfilling relationships are essential to happiness and success. Zig Ziglar says, you can't truly be considered successful in your business life if your home life is in shambles. Let me see how many pages we have in this particular chapter and see if we're going to go to another chapter as well. For all our investments in career training, health, gym memberships, or financial futures, we often forget to invest in the most important and influential things in our lives, relationships. Then we wonder why we are stalled, stuck, moving slowly, unsatisfied, unenergized, or feeling just plain blah. Relationships drive our choices. Relationships, good ones, easy ones, complex ones, and yes, even hard and challenging ones, fill our lives. Wouldn't you agree? Relationships motivate most of our life and work choices. They are our why. Most of us work in order to provide a certain lifestyle for our families. We want to create a better life for them and have the financial freedom to enjoy our experiences as well as to give others in need. Think about your day, all the moment by moment details. How much of it is related to relationships, schedules, commutes, emails, business meetings, lunches, sales calls, after school activities, evening commitments, volunteering, recreational pursuits, even entrepreneurial dreams pursued after hours are all related to the people in our lives. Relationships are the stuff of life. They are what drive us, sustain us, comfort us, and yes, challenge us. Life without meaningful relationships would be, well, meaningless, dull, and empty. Without relationships, I think we would all drift along without passion, purpose, or hope. Relationships tether us to our lives and add richness and value. They anchor us in our story. I believe learning to create and nurture significant relationships is essential to meaningful, enjoyable, and productive lives. That's one of the things about people who leave for a different life, who actually abandon their previous lives. The hardest part for them is to let go of those good relationships that they had before and to become a whole different person. I'm thinking things like witness protection program kind of stuff. But anyway, back to the paragraphs. While relationships are the most important things in our lives, they are usually the hardest. They bring us joy, delight, and purpose, but also pain, sorrow, confusion, grief, frustration, and loneliness. We want great relationships. We would even settle for good. But the work and effort to create and sustain them seems daunting, so we punt. We pretend we aren't lonely and settle for fair to middling relationships, wondering, is this all there is? Remember when you met your spouse? While you were falling in love, the relationship was wonderful and communication seemed so easy. He or she loved everything you said, agreed with you, and thought you hung the moon. But these days, not so much. You wonder, what happened? How did we get here? I didn't sign up for this. After the honeymoon phase, we wake up to reality. Living 24/7 with this person is hard. They get on our nerves. They don't agree with us all the time. They criticize and try to change us. Most relationships make a shift. Bullet point: the sweet baby, that tender-hearted toddler disappears into a truculent teen. Point: the great boss, who was excited about our new ideas, starts shooting them down and instead promotes sticking to the status quo. Point: our supportive spouse wavers in their excitement and commitments to the time and financial cost of pursuing our entrepreneurial dreams. Point: pension floods our friendships with other moms as school politics or sports team selections impact your kids and their friendships. Point: clients become competitors. Point: sibling rivalry, disagreements, and jealousy replace childhood games and treehouse dreams. Suddenly, building strong relationships and deep connections just got exponentially harder and more complicated. We are tempted to give up. Alternatively, we may try to convince ourselves it isn't so bad, maybe it will get better. So we sweep our feelings under the rug and power through. But like many other issues or problems we try to ignore, it just gets bigger, and soon we are tripping over the huge mound under the carpet. If relationships are the stuff of life, why are we rarely, if ever, taught how to create quality ones? Growing up, we are taught to be polite, not make waves, apologize, use our words instead of our fists, but we really never learn the necessary skills for building strong and lasting relationships. We don't take classes on how to communicate. Sure, we learn to talk, we even learn big words and how to give public speeches, but we are not taught the essential skill of how to communicate effectively or create thriving relationships. When an unexpected crisis hits, our relationships deteriorate or become difficult at best. Suddenly, we realize our communication and relationship skills need work. Usually, we don't seek help or actively learn how to develop healthy and enjoyable relationships until a problem arises. Reactively, we seek out seminars, coaches, and workshops, but by this time we are already in crisis and behind the eight ball. Doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it make more sense to do a little skill development and learning on the front end, especially if it equips us to avoid the emotional upheaval that often accompanies our forging ahead blindly or with hubris? Listen, learn, love can not only help us create better relationships, but also equip us to handle crises and struggle when they arise, and they will. You can kiss your family and friends goodbye and put miles between you, but at the same time, you carry them with you in your heart, your mind, your stomach, because you do not just live in a world, but a world lives in you. And that's by Frederick Buechner. Buechner, probably. Everyone struggles, even professionals. A few years ago, our adult daughter Emily, our middle child, went on the world race, an 11-month mission trip traveling to 11 countries. This quotation was never truer for me than during that time, the Frederick Wagner one. The meaning was heightened because our relationship was strained before she left. It was normal mother, mid-20s daughter stuff. Nothing relationship shattering, but not the way a mom wants to say goodbye to her child as she leaves for almost a year. I wished I understood why we clashed and what I did that frustrated, disappointed, and just plain bugged her. Maybe then I could figure out a way to just stop doing it. We had talked about our relationship, calmly at times, with tension at others. I wanted to force the issue before Emily left. Thankfully, my husband and my mom suggested I hold it loosely, give her space, and trust God. Was it hard? You bet. I cried a lot. I tried to be lighthearted as we packed and spent time together during those last few days. I am sure my longing for it to be different leaked out and she felt pressure. Emily was gracious. I tried to be patient and quiet, sharing the bulk of my thoughts, fears, worries, and questions with God, my hubby, and mom. They reminded me to have faith. I struggled. As we hugged one last time, my heart ached. I knew I had blown it. I tried to have conversations, got frustrated, hurt her feelings, shared too much, said too little, and now Emily was leaving for 11 months. Sure, there would be FaceTime, texts, and emails, but they would be short, newsy, and light. It would be a year before we could really talk about anything. Our relationship struggles weighed heavily on my heart as Emily trekked the world. Of course, I hoped and prayed she would return home safely, but also that we could share openly, mend fences, deal with the tension, address my alienating actions or words, and build a stronger relationship. Emily lived with us for a while when she returned home, and when I took my own advice to listen, and learn her and love well, I learn her and love well. I saw things improve between us. Amazing how that works. I am learning to listen in the ways I teach, but I can fail miserably at living out. She is a grown woman now. When we talk these days, I picture the conch shell, and how really listening to her will reveal more about who she is and what she needs or wants from me and our relationship. Rather than diving in and talking, I try to be patient in the listening, and I continue to learn her bit by bit. When I listen well, I discover layers of growth and development. I wear perspectacles and am learning how she is different from what I may think or assume based on her childhood years. Emily's adult experiences have impacted and shaped her as well. I am trying to love well by being patient and quiet and giving her space, which is sometimes very hard for me. I want to just hash it out, figure out how to fix it. I wanted to do it my way, but then the skill of loving well isn't about me. Using these skills, our relationship has grown and improved. We share some delightful times, great conversations, and times of connection reminiscent of her younger years. We are learning to accept and enjoy each other. It's ironic we both want a deep and connected relationship. We are just figuring out how to have one as adults. I am hopeful and grateful. She is patient and forgiving. Note to all the moms reading: don't lose heart. Life is long, and relationships with our kids survive the teens and 20s. Does knowing I struggle in my relationships give you hope and encouragement? It should. Seriously, I teach this stuff. This is my wheelhouse, and I struggle, falter, and fail. Not all my relationships are thriving, awesome, and without conflict. Creating better relationships takes intentional effort and is a process. There is hope. Good morning, Liz Rose Cantara. Sometimes when I am coaching clients, I hear myself encourage them to specifically use one of these skills to handle an issue or improve their relationship. And then I hear a voice in the back of my head chuckle and ask, "So, are you the pot or the kettle today?" In addition to my own experiences, I have learned a great deal from the privilege of helping my clients build better relationships with themselves, God, and others. As we dive into their stories, relational struggles, and questions, work together to improve their connections as they practice skills and change unproductive habits or patterns of relating. They begin to see substantial improvements where they have often given up hope. On a shelf in my office, I have a pair of child-sized bright yellow rain boots. They are a gift from a couple to symbolize my walking through the mud with them and helping them grow a strong, intimate, and enjoyable marriage. Every time I see the boots, I smile and I am grateful this is what I get to do with my life. Through my journeys with others, I have seen numerous clients create remarkable progress in their relationships with loved ones and friends. With this in mind, I encourage you to engage with this book. Ponder the quotations, put yourself into the examples, try on the 3 skills, and do the practice exercises. Begin to use listen, learn, love in your relationships. An easy way to try on these skills is to create a relationship avatar, a visual image, picture, or snapshot that comes to mind which represents your specific relationship. Remember, you can use the same relationship avatar with all the skills or choose different ones to represent different relationships in your life throughout the book. It's up to you. The purpose is to put a face and a real relationship into the context of each skill and then envision implementing the tips for each one with that person and imagining how doing so will impact your relationship. You can make changes and dramatically improve your relationships if you are willing to learn and practice these skills. Just begin and then continue one step at a time. Practicing listen, learn, love. 1. Think for a moment about your relationships and bring to mind the faces of friends or loved ones who fit into one or more of these categories. Your relationship is marked by tension, disagreement, or struggle. You are settling for a mediocre relationship. You want to develop a deeper connection. You just want to have a better relationship. Define what better means to you. These people are your relationship avatars. Number 2, consider the value of these relationships and commit to the process of taking one or more of them through the various action steps in this book. You can use a single relationship or choose a different relationship to focus on for each skill. Shit. Excuse me. Excuse me. As you read, number 3, as you read, I encourage you to be open-minded and optimistic, to invest the time to process the information with specific relationships in mind. Envision yourself in the different scenarios throughout the book. Interact with this book, take notes, and do the action steps. It will be a bit like collaborating with me in a coaching session. As you learn and use these skills, you will enjoy dynamic connections and improved relationships. Okay, old Kinderhook.